Cash on hand, $419 million, so down slightly from the end of 2019, but I think much better than investors were anticipating. And then, of course, the headline that over 400 deposits from individuals in 44 countries have been taken, representing potentially $100 million plus in future revenue, and that was as of the end of April. Walk us through those deposits and what you've seen in terms of interest in space tourism and the future sale of tickets despite the pandemic and the subsequent recession that we're now in.
Yeah, Morgan, well, we're really excited by the response that we've seen to our new small step program. So sort of one small step, one giant leap. And as you say, we've now had over 400 people put down their money for this program. That puts them at the front of the line for when we do release tickets sometime later on. And, what I think it shows is that the demand for these incredible experiences, you only live once kind of experiences is still quite strong. And, we've been heartened by that, as well as, the size of the increase in the top of the sales funnel, which is people who haven't put down money, but who have expressed or registered their desire to fly. That went up another 15% or over 1,000 people as well. So, what we're seeing here is, I think, strong growth in our sales funnel. And I think that's a good sign for what we have to come.
How much of that demand do you expect to translate to actual ticket sales, especially if this economic downturn we're in right now continues to stretch out?
It's a great question. And one of the things that I've been pointing to is the fact that we've had, really essentially a constant base in our existing ticket holders. So in other words, we haven't seen any sort of substantial requests for refunds or anything like that. And I think that's a great sign. This company's been around for a while. I've been CEO for a while. And we've actually been through a few of these serious recessions or other things. And our customer base during those periods has always been remarkably resilient. And I think that's just a credit of, our customers' sort of economic position. And I think hopefully that's a good sign for what is to come.
Yeah, you just completed your first test flight out of Virgin Galactic's new home in New Mexico as well. That happened last Friday. What's the timeline now for service to become operational? When are we going to see Sir Richard Branson and those first paying tourists actually get to go up to the edge of space?
Well, we're taking it step by step, as you know. I think the main thing is that I was incredibly heartened that we were able to, successfully fly a great test flight for the first time over New Mexico and the spaceport last Friday. That was a big accomplishment. We really had to, over the course of April, go through every single one of our procedures to make sure that they were COVID-19 compliant in terms of the ground crew, in terms of the pilots and all this. We also, as you may have seen, we tested everybody in our facilities, all of our pilots, everyone else. And I think that gave people a little bit of, comfort coming back to work. So what's going forward? We have to look at the data from Friday's flight. We'll do a data review over the next couple weeks. And then we will see what we need to learn. And then we'll get back into pre-flight flow for our next glide flight, which will be a high-speed glide flight. Should be interesting and exciting. And then we'll review the data for that. And then we'll move into sort of the final phase of our what we call the powered flight test program, where we're flying, rocket-powered flights. At some point within that flow, we'll be moving into, full people in the back, test passengers, essentially using company employees. And then once we've sort of gotten comfortable with all that, that's the point at which we'd be, ready to fly Richard to space.
Okay. You also announced a Space Act agreement with NASA to facilitate the development of high-speed technologies. So this is basically the hypersonic, supersonic, point-to-point travel via rocket that you have been talking about, which is a long-term plan and potential business for Virgin Galactic. What does this partnership do in terms of enabling those capabilities, and does it actually accelerate the timeline?
Well, we're really excited about this new announcement. This is a Space Act agreement between us and NASA. Specifically, we've got an agreement with NASA Langley, which is one of their really excellent centers for high-speed aerodynamics. The initial focus of this agreement will be on thermal-related issues, so how the skin heats up of the vehicle as you approach very high speeds, as well as different propulsion options and technologies. What we're going to do is we're going to bring together our best people to look at these technological choices and to do research and development that will help us move forward. Now, I think it's another step in our pathway, our long-term pathway. And what we've said is what we really want to do is attack the long lead technological challenges first. That's critical for any long-term development program. So I think this is a great step forward. And, we're looking forward to seeing what the team does together.
Hey, good morning, George. It's John Fort. You said on the call that during March, 2/3 of employees and contractors were able to complete their duties from home. You also said that you're developing plans to safely return them to your facilities. My question is, why? If they could work from home, why not have them continue to do that? Will you have some of them continue to do that? Or is it important in your culture to have all those people on site?
Awesome question. And like many businesses, that's exactly the question that we're asking today. I think that, frankly, I don't think we do need to have all of them here. We would like to have some of them because there's a positive interaction between the folks who are on the shop floor as well as the folks who are, the engineers, doing that analysis. But I think, the really interesting thing that you raise is that we could be heading for a new normal where we do have a bunch of folks who are rotating through the facility. And I think that's okay. As long as all the work's getting done, I don't care where people sit.
Yeah, and two questions for you on COVID-19 and the impact on the business. The first is it going to change the way people are suited up and actually do fly to space? And the second is the fact that you're specifically developing oxygen hoods, negative pressure enclosures with NASA as well right now. How much of your resources have been dedicated to that, and how soon until you get FDA approval?
Yeah, great question. So, I've been super proud of the team for taking time to work with our partners at NASA to build these new technologies that will help folks who really are going through the toughest part of their COVID infections. What we've done is we've created these oxygen hoods, which go over your head and actually prevent up to, a quarter or a third of people who would otherwise be needing a ventilator from going on a ventilator. And obviously that's really important since the health prognosis for folks who go on a ventilator, especially if they're old, can be somewhat challenging. We've already produced about 400 of these helmets. And as you say, we're in the EUA process now with the FDA. So hopefully within the next, maybe a couple weeks, that's approved and we're able to get these out here. Our long-term future is not going to be producing medical devices. We're just trying to do our part with some great engineering to help folks out in the community. And what we'd love to do is to share that type of technology with other folks who are in that business so that we can get that out, not just domestically, but also internationally.